Hello, I'm continuing our series on the four aspects or parts of ourselves. Today, day 35, I'm talking about the intellectual or mental side of ourselves. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty self-explanatory. So, we have our brains, our intellect. This is where we learn. This is where our logic is. This is our reasoning capability. It's actually, our brain is like our master computer. So that's our intellectual self. A lot of people function strictly and solely from the intellectual part of themselves, or the mental part. They're brainiacs. They're extremely logical. If we spend too long and too much time and we don't have balance, then we can be out of balance in our brainiac side. We can be overly logical, not at all caring, cold, seemingly sterile, cold, uncaring, even sometimes mean, or more Spock-like, Dr. Spock type, as we saw in Star Trek. The trick here is to have balance among the four aspects of ourselves, the four me's, the spiritual, intellectual, emotional, and physical. So somebody out of balance in this area can sometimes become cruel and even despot-like. Other times they can just be cold and unfeeling, and they can deny the other aspects of themselves to their detriment and often to the detriment of those around them. Now, there are times in our lives when we will work and spend a lot of our time developing the various aspects of ourselves. For example, if you're going to school or you're studying a very important topic or working on your thesis or some type of pursuit that way, maybe studying a foreign language, what have you, that we will spend more time in that part of our lives. That stands to reason. But overall, the idea here is to have things balance out and have that time and get that balance. Don't be intimidated by the fact that you may have to spend a lot of time not only just in your intellectual self, but people going through counseling or going through a crisis may find that they have to devote some extra time to their emotional selves. Or if they're sick or have any kind of a physical issue, they might have to spend time on their physical selves. So again, it's not uncommon to have to devote a certain amount of, or the majority of our energy, I should say, on one aspect of ourselves. Someone studying in seminary or what have you, not only are they living in the intellectual side of themselves, but they're also living and working in the spiritual. Ideally, we would pursue something every day that gives us a little bit of attention to all four of our aspects, all four me's. A lot of people start the day with some meditation or some prayer and end the day the same way. Or they'll end the day evaluating their day and looking at what they could have done better, or what they maybe need to make amends for, or maybe what they need to fix or improve or whatever. Or just not only what maybe they need to fix, but what did they do right, and what would they like to repeat, and what would they like to expand upon. Maybe a little bit of exercise, even if it's just walking the dog. Sometimes that's the only exercise I get in a day, is just taking the dog for a walk. Other times I will be bicycling like crazy or doing yoga. I try to do yoga a lot, but at the same time, it doesn't happen every day. The important thing, though, here is to try to achieve balance. And I think that's pretty much all I have to say about that at the moment. I'm looking at some notes that I made, just wrote down a couple of notes. like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. It doesn't require a lot of thought or explanation because we know what our brains are and what they can accomplish. One thing, though, that I want to challenge you, and we won't even get to my answer on this until later in a few days. But where do you think is the best place? Which me do we want to make decisions? Well, a lot of people would say, oh, well, the spiritual me makes sense. Maybe, except it might not be practical or logical. Oh, well, the mental or the intellectual me would make sense. Not if it's cold, calculating, and uncaring. Well, the emotional me, that can get you in trouble. And the physical me, well, just ask any teenager and find out what kind of trouble that can get you into. So we're gonna examine that later, like I said, after we cover all four of the me's or aspects, and then we'll sum it up. So hope you're enjoying this series. I've noticed a lot of people here lately have said to me, oh, I'm really enjoying your video series. And I said, really? I didn't know you were even watching it. So if you're so inclined to leave a comment, or even if you don't want to leave a comment because you have nothing to say, if you would click like or one of the emoticons, that would be great. That way at least I know who's watching it. The only thing I see is how many views there are, and that doesn't really tell me who's watching it. It's helpful to know that somebody out there is watching it and that some people are actually benefiting from it and enjoying it. So have a great day and talk to you tomorrow.